All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So obviously the Jets have a big question mark at the offensive coordinator position as well as quarterback. But in this one, I wanted to talk about a potential pairing, a realistic pairing between two guys that I really, really like and I could see actually wearing green next season. But before I dive in, I wanted to quickly say that these two options won't be for everybody, and that is totally cool. You know, one thing that I love about watching sports and just being a fan of a team and loving a game is the fact that fans can form their own opinions, and everybody has their own sort of preferences and whatnot. So I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just talking about a realistic option that I could see playing out for the Jets. And if you disagree, say you want a Jimmy Garoppolo, say you want an Aaron Rodgers, say you want a Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, let me know down below in the comments section. Right, I don't like when others try to put people down for just having an opinion on the matter. Okay, so let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in. So for me personally, the two bullet points that I want the Jets to hit on this cycle, right, this offseason with both the offensive coordinator position and the quarterback, veteran experience, consistency. Veteran experience and consistency, those are the two things that I believe this Jets team really lacks. I mean, think about the offense last season for a second. No consistency on the offensive line, no consistency with personnel, no consistency with play calls or game planning or the quarterback position or quarterback production. It was just like up in the air every single week. I want to get into the rhythm or the flow to where I can count, I can rely, I know what I'm getting offensively on Sunday. And I feel like both of these candidates here that we're going to talk about check both of those boxes. So let's cover the offensive coordinator spot first, and it's going to be Greg Olson here. At 59 years old, Greg Olson is currently the senior offensive assistant with the LA Rams. And by the way, although Sean McVay is coming back, he is allowing his staff to seek jobs elsewhere. So just wanted to throw that in there. But Greg Olson, I mean, this guy has seen a ton of football. Starting coaching in 1990, he's been a part of great teams, bad teams, average teams. He's worked with young quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, quarterbacks that haven't really worked out. He's really seen it all. He's been a part of some awesome coaching staffs, and he's well versed in the West Coast scheme. So when we instantly start talking about personnel fits, the Jets have guys that already have the skill set to run what we assume Olson would want to run in New York, which is that West Coast play action style of scheme. He has a long history of working specifically with the quarterback position. He's a 7-time QB coach and a 6-time offensive coordinator, so he's been around the block. Him accepting this Jets OC job isn't going to be this massive shock. There isn't going to be this, confusing learning curve, this long onboarding process for everybody, including himself, to get accustomed to, which is something that we did see with Mike LaFleur. And it's not necessarily a big knock against LaFleur. It's just like, I mean, football aside, whether you want to talk about like any job, there's going to be somewhat of a transition period. But when we're talking about OC of the New York Jets, first time play caller, first time developing a rookie quarterback, first time installing an offense, it's going to be pretty tough. Olson isn't going to get overwhelmed by the responsibilities of the job, and in turn won't allow mistakes to hatch from being overwhelmed, if that makes sense. And then you throw on top of it that Olson and Saleh have crossed paths before in Jacksonville, where Olson was the OC of the Jaguars and Robert Saleh was the linebackers coach. So I think on the surface it makes sense. And then when we start diving into the checklist, if you will, veteran experience, a guy who's seen a lot of football, well versed in the West Coast system, somebody who knows Saleh, knows his personality, knows the culture that he's trying to establish, and a guy who's worked with quarterbacks, again, all across the map, good quarterbacks, bad quarterbacks, old quarterbacks, young quarterbacks. I think Olson really just makes sense. Okay, so moving on to the quarterback position here, it's Derek Carr. Coming off of a quote-unquote down season, Carr threw for 24 touchdowns, 14 INTs, 3,522 passing yards, and a completion percentage at 60%. And I know by his standards, it's a down season, but we can take Zach Wilson's passing touchdowns from this year and last year, combine those together with Mike White's passing touchdowns from this year and last year, so 4 total stat lines. It still doesn't equate to 25 24 touchdowns through the air. Okay, so, I mean, I'm looking at Derek Carr. He provides the team with veteran experience. Outside of this weird Josh McDaniels season, the previous 4 seasons before this, right? So 2018, 19, 20, and 2021, he threw for over 4,000 yards in every single season. Had a completion percentage above 67 and nearly 20 plus touchdowns a year. He has 33 game-winning drives since 2014, which is the most in the NFL. And by the way, that's when he entered the league. He's historically dealt with bad defenses. I mean, year after year, the Raiders defense just cannot get it together. Although I do like some of their players, the defense from top to bottom has just not been good. Throughout his time in Oakland and Vegas, he's been a great teammate, a great leader. I felt like he handled the whole John Gruden thing really, really well, rallied the guys. And when we take a look at that 2021 season, he really put the team on his back, and the numbers were crazy. He threw for over 4,800 yards. He had 626 passing attempts, but a completion percentage of 68.4. I mean, that is super, super efficient. Now, I think when we talk about a potential Derek Carr trade, obviously we have to factor in the contract, and the Raiders have a decision to make before mid-February. I believe the exact date is either February 12th or 14th, somewhere in that range. The Raiders have got to make a choice, either trade him or cut him. There's going to be some teams out there that would much rather wait until he gets cut, but there could be some like QB needy teams out there that might bite the bullet and try to trade something middle of the road to acquire Derek Carr, and then all of a sudden his salary for next season becomes fully guaranteed at $34.9 million, okay? And on top of that, $7.5 million in 2024. So going back to the initial checklist of this video, is Derek Carr a seasoned, experienced veteran? Yes, he is. Has Derek Carr been consistent throughout his time in the NFL? The answer is yes. So right off the bat, I'm looking at Derek Carr as a potential option at quarterback for the New York Jets in 2020. Here's where things get interesting though, okay? Because as we all know, Olson has spent a lot of time with the Raiders, specifically working with Derek Carr. 5 total seasons as Derek Carr's OC. Back in 2021, the crazy season that we were just talking about where Carr threw for over 4,800 yards, Greg Olson was the one calling plays after Gruden got let go. The Raiders ended up rallying and went 7-5. Carr had 6 game-winning drives that season alone, and on top of that, the defense was ranked 26th in the NFL, so he wasn't getting a ton of help defensively. They have experience working together. Derek Carr fits the system. You look at a potential learning curve, right? What's the process going to look like? Imagining these two wearing green next season in training camp, it's going to be accelerated. It's going to be sped up. It's not going to be this foreign language for Derek Carr. Why? Because he's been in football for so long and he knows Greg Olson and what he wants to do, not only just schematically speaking, but as a play caller as well. They have that chemistry, that repertoire together. The players around Derek Carr fit the system, and on top of all these pros about getting Olson and Carr in the building together to really take this offense over, there's a leadership and a teammate quality about Carr that I just really, really like. You listen to him in press conferences, even in the statement that Carr released, about his time as a Raider and essentially thanking the fans, thanking all of his teammates and former coaches. There's just this genuine aspect about Derek, and it gets me fired up thinking that Derek Carr is going to be entering 2023 with a massive chip on his shoulder, wanting to prove that entire Vegas organization, the new front office, the coaching staff, everybody wrong, that they made a mistake. But there are a couple downsides here with Derek Carr that we have to address. Number one, throughout these past couple of seasons, people have kind of labeled him as the check down king, right? The check down master. Very quick just to get the football out of his hands, play it safe, isn't really the riskiest thrower, doesn't necessarily want to push the ball constantly, take a lot of gambles down the field. But I know it's boring. I know it's kind of vanilla, plain, but that's kind of what I want in my quarterback, especially when I'm looking at the Jets, who Zach Wilson's biggest issue was turning the football over and, making strange decisions down the field, lofting it up, throwing into double coverage, putting the ball in harm's way. It was Saleh's press conference over and over. It was Mike LaFleur's press conference over and over. Wilson has got to get better at the boring stuff, the easy stuff. Just check it down. If it's there, you don't have to force it. Take the easy outs. I know, again, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but that's where Carr really excels. Just putting the ball in play, completing passes, controlling the clock. So for me, the first negative about Derek Carr isn't really the biggest deal in the world. Now, of course, we do have to bring up the cold weather aspect as well, where Derek is 0 for 5 in quote-unquote cold weather games. What does that mean, really? Like, cold weather could be anything. I mean, for me, I'm down in Florida, anything below 70 is cold, but I'm talking about below 37 degrees. Derek Carr is 0 for 5, and the Raiders have, as a team, scored less than 19 points in every single one of those games. That could be a problem. Playoffs, January football, games in Buffalo, games in New England, home games at MetLife Stadium late in the season. Is the cold weather going to be a factor? Could that be an issue for Carr, for this offense moving forward? For sure. That has to be brought up. But I will say this, in all of last season, warm weather, home, away, cold weather, it doesn't matter, dome, the Jets averaged 17.4 points a game, one of the worst in all of football. So if I'm looking at the Jets offense and we're Carr is bringing his resume to the table of stats and all of the years of completion percentage and yards and touchdowns, TD to INT ratio, all that good stuff, to me that trumps the cold weather games. I don't want to write a guy off because he's 0 for 5 in these games below 37 degrees. Can the narrative be changed? Yes. Look who played in a playoff game this weekend. Geno Smith, right? The narrative was bust. The narrative was career backup. Look at the narrative about the Seattle Seahawks as a whole. Some people had this team picking number 1 overall in the draft, the worst team in football. They made the playoffs. What was the narrative about Brock Purdy? 7th round pick, 49ers are done. Once Jimmy G went down, Niners are out. Got to make a move for Baker Mayfield. I mean, the narrative can change. It's, yes, Carr has not performed, but if we are realistic and ask the question, hey, can this guy, this seasoned quarterback, this seasoned veteran get better in this area? The answer is there's a chance. There's a chance. It's not guaranteed. He could get worse. Who knows? But there's a chance to get better. There's a chance to make progress in that category. So at the end of the day, I think Greg Olson and Derek Carr could be a great match for this Jets offense to lead them forward. And to quickly just point out why I want veteran experience and consistency offensively, it's because we don't have that Sean Payton as a head coach. We don't have Andy Reid. We don't have Shanahan, McVay, one of these offensive play callers, these innovative offensive minds at the head spot. Saleh's top dog. He's more of a defensive guy. How much input does he really have offensively? So, in other words, is it the smartest thing in the world for the Jets to go out and hire somebody in their early 30s, somebody who hasn't really done it before? Now he's in the same position that Mike LaFleur was in a couple years ago, where he's responsible for all these different things, and there just isn't really that resume. There isn't really that foundation or backbone of saying, hey, you know what? I've seen this. I've done that. I'm going to be okay. Might not be the best offense, might not be a top 5 offense, but we're going to be okay. We're going to be better than 27th, 26th in all of football, which is right around where the Jets landed when it was all said and done. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Again, I know these two candidates aren't going to be for everybody, and that is totally fine, totally cool. And I would love to hear yours down below in the comment section. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, go Jets.